Demons, they need your addictions to live, and you have the power to kill them. Because without your power, without your energy, they are nothing. You have all the power, and they cannot be allowed to survive unless they steal it from you, and they steal it through our addictions. As I've dove in deeper into meditation, you become more acutely aware of how you feel on a daily basis. And what I've noticed is that whenever I engage in something that brings some sort of temporary pleasure, there always comes afterwards a very long stretch of pain or suffering. And when you naturally feel at peace or feel good, the contrast that we experience helps us let go of these addictions because we realize how much pain we are actually causing ourselves. We become separated from the natural joy that is available to all of us. But when you're suffering all the time, a bit more suffering doesn't really make a difference. But I say this because it becomes easier and easier to let go of these self-destructive behaviors, these things that cause us so much pain. Because the better we feel, the worse suffering we experience when we are separated from that joy, from that peace, from love. And you begin getting really clear about seeing this tiny, tiny bit of pleasure that you get, and then all of the suffering that you have to go through and experience. Once you get clear about that, it becomes increasingly more difficult to engage in that behavior. You see, demons can only lurk in the darkness, and therefore, so long as we are unconscious, we may be feeding them without even knowing. Unconsciousness is the source of all suffering in life, but suffering is the root of all enlightenment. Because when you're suffering in the world, you're forced to find freedom, and when you can't find freedom out here, you have to find freedom in here. And freedom you will find. Freedom from suffering, freedom from darkness, freedom from hell. The answer, the antidote is within you already. Think of it this way. When a room is filled with light, and then you turn off the switch, darkness is what remains. And so it is only because this life, this light, this energy within us becomes drained, does our life become shrouded in darkness. And to the degree that we are separated from this life is the degree that we are in hell. And there's a wide spectrum to I am in the worst suffering imaginable, to I'm in purgatory where life isn't really that bad, but it's not really that good either, to I'm in heaven. And so our life, if you're a normal human being and you want to experience joy and peace and love, is to go from wherever you are on the spectrum and make your way to heaven. Heaven that is universal to everybody. It's not about just living a certain kind of life. It's about having a deep contentment, experiencing love and peace and joy for the majority of the time. And I say this heaven is available to you right now, and it will forever be available to you. So if you don't exactly get it immediately, don't worry, because it will be waiting for you forever. It's like God for our whole lives is watching us from afar play on the playground of life. But because we live in unconsciousness, we can only see like a few inches or maybe a few feet in front of us. And so we become blinded from God. We get cut off from the light and we fall into darkness. Because think about it this way. God, by definition, is omnipresent, which means God is everywhere, always. And if God is everywhere, always, then God can never be separated from you. But do we experience God everywhere, always, all the time? Most people do not. Most people feel separated from God and feel that they need to grow closer. But clearly that is an illusion. Using very simple logic, the fact that God is everywhere always means that you are already at one with God. But it is precisely the tactic of the demonic force to get you to believe that you are separate, to capture you in illusion so it can continue to steal your energy. That is what it means to be a battery in the matrix. You are lost in unconsciousness. You are completely unaware of the nature of reality. And so the system can feed off of you, feed off of your energy, feed off your trauma and your addictions and your desires and your pain. And so you see, once you realize that you are already with God, then nothing can hurt you ever again. And the deeper and deeper you come into this realization, the less and less you have any desire to engage in any self-destructive behavior or addiction. But it is precisely because we become separated from this life within us that we feel we need to fill this black hole, this emptiness. And as you might know, with any addictive behavior, the more we feed it, the more empty we feel. And so the more we have to fill it to feel anything. But the only way to fill this black hole, this darkness, is with the light. Nothing else will do. Not relationships, not any substance, not anything in the world. In fact, everything that everybody who has ever lived is looking for, their true fundamental desire, is this life. We've all been seeking God, because God is the source of all joy, love, satisfaction, and peace in our existence. There is nothing else that satisfies. There is nothing else that even comes close. But because people try to find lasting satisfaction in a temporary world, the things that bring them pleasure change, which means they experience pleasure for a short time, but then they're forced to experience the absence of that pleasure. And because they experience that pain, that suffering, they need it again and again and again. And so they try to sustain unsustainable behavior, and that doesn't work. But you can find lasting satisfaction in the eternal. And in this eternal present moment, this is where life is found. This is the gateway to the kingdom of heaven, or path to God. The truth is like your nose. It's often so close to our face that the only way to see it is by looking in the mirror. And so you see, God is so close to us. We are so at one already. Sometimes the best way to hide something is to put it in plain sight. That is how close you are to freedom. Freedom from pain and suffering and addiction. You see, light, life, and heaven are all synonymous. And death, darkness, and hell too are synonymous. And these two opposing forces cannot be in the same place at the same time. So where life is not, death is. Where light is not, darkness is. And so it is precisely our degree of separation that determines the quality of our life, the quality of our happiness and peace. But now you have the greatest secret, that in truth you are never separated. You are in heaven already, but you are dreaming that you are not. And so it is not that we grow closer or more separate from God. It is that the mind that is constructed creates a bubble that separates us from seeing. That is the matrix, that is illusion. It is not this universe. It is not this world. It is nothing but a bubble called the mind, in which we live our entire lives through. And the more concrete this mind is, the more we reinforce and feed this mind identity. That is how we become more separated. It is the illusion of separation. It is precisely how strong our mind is that will determine the level of our attachment. And the more we are attached to certain things in the world, the more we are likely to engage in addiction and self-destructive behavior to soothe the uneasiness, the uncomfortable feelings, the tension in our bodies. Everything is an attempt to escape the present moment, to distract ourselves, to live in unconsciousness, to avoid seeing the truth. And so know that the mind will always do its best to prevent you from seeing the truth that I've spoken in this video. Because the mind, which holds within it the one true demon, needs your attachments to survive. It needs your identity. This one true demon that controls everything, the whole illusion. It needs your belief for it to survive. Because when you believe in it, you feed it your energy. You feed it your fear. It is only in unconsciousness that we are capable of engaging in self-destructive behavior. It is only in unconsciousness that we are able to engage in evil. When it comes to addiction or any self-destructive behavior, it's like putting your hand on a hot stove. The only reason that you are able to leave it there, two reasons, is either you're not paying attention, you're living in unconsciousness, or it may be because deep down you don't love yourself very much and you are doing it to destroy yourself. Because people who love themselves don't engage in self-destructive behavior. And people who do not love themselves are separated from the source of love. That is God, that is consciousness, that is life. The more darkness that we have within us, the more that we desire to destroy. The more we desire self-destruction. And the more light we have within us, the more life, the more we desire self-creation. To live and actualize our potential and be happy and be joyful and experience life to its fullest. And so we can only be separated from love when we are unconscious. And so as we become more aware of the truth within us, the truth that God can never be separated from us, and that God is love and joy and peace, then all we have to do is start removing the veils that are over our eyes, that are keeping us in the illusion of separation. And now that we have a map that is the present moment, that can never be taken from you, this means that freedom is always yours. And it doesn't matter the circumstances of your life. The only problem that arises is that this matrix, this illusion, is designed specifically to steal our attention. It's supposed to distract us. That is the way it was designed by God. God uses demons, the system, the matrix, for its intended purpose, because it is not until we are lost can we rejoice in the experience of being found, of making our way back home. It is only when we are in darkness can we truly relish in the light. And when we are suffering, do we truly appreciate what is good. And so if you are suffering, reframe your mind to realize that it is not a negative thing, but rather the degree in which we suffer will determine the degree in which we can experience joy. Sometimes the path to heaven is through hell. And having that contrast in your life creates unfathomable depths within you. But there is nothing worse than living a lukewarm life, a shallow existence. So do not fear your addictions or demons, or the matrix or the illusion, but see it for what it is. These are all characters in God's game designed for a specific purpose. Without a proper villain, there is no use for a hero. And without a hero, there is no story to be told. So don't waste your time focusing on what is negative, because every moment that we focus on the demonic, on the darkness, on death, is a moment that we take away from focusing on God, on life, on what is good.